Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our Declaration of Independence reading here at City Hall. We'll go back around here. So thank you all so much for being here for our Declaration of Independence reading at City Hall. My name is Madam Katharina Brett. I am your city's de facto founder. I was the first European settler here in what is now Dutchess County, and my house still stands. It is the oldest house in Dutchess County right here in your town. And this is my granddaughter, Hannah Skank.
We're going 2 generations later here, but I'm representing Hannah Brett Skank. Henry Skank and her, Hannah, lived in the Madam Brett house during the time of the Revolution. He was a quartermaster for the Army, and I'm sure he had George Washington there many times. He let soldiers sleep in the house while they were looking at from Mount Beacon, and they were there for the whole Revolution. Now,
thank you. Let me say it again. Welcome here to the 13th annual reading of the Declaration. So we wanted to add some more activities, and every year we're going to try to add more activities every year we go on. We had a face painter today. You see some of the kids' faces painted. We had a face painter today. Some of the people's faces are painted. We had that face painter today. But and we had a face painter. We had some other games going on. But everything you see here today takes a lot of work behind the scenes. Everybody doesn't see the hard work that goes on here. And it's a lot of donations. Dennis Pavlok walking on Main Street with his folder, asking for donations to make this event continue on. And the good-hearted business people that are struggling today, everywhere, not just here, everywhere, dipped in their pockets or wrote Dennis Pavlok a check, and they say, you know, good luck to you. Thanks for doing this event. So we wanted to thank the business owners. We want to thank the residents who kicked in. Your name is going to appear on the screen when it's on Channel 22 for a personal thank you. So let me tell you who I am this year so you know who I am and a little bit about the person so you know. My name is William Rutledge. I was 26 years old at the time of the signing. And I even put in, why did he get the chance to sign this document? And I went back and I researched that as well. And he proved to be a persuasive force back in the day. That's why he was able to be one of the signers with the South Carolina delegation. Mr. Rutledge promoted the adoption of the Constitution at the South Carolina Ratification Convention. In 1779, he was elected to the 39th South Carolina's governor. And in 1789, Mr. Rutledge accepted the appointment as one of the first justices of the Supreme Court. He resigned from that position in 1791 to become the Chief Justice of South Carolina, an office he held until 1795. After signing the Declaration of Independence on August 2nd, 1776, Mr. Rutledge returned to South Carolina, where he was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives, also served in the South Carolina militia, and was captured at the siege of Charleston, where he was taken to St. Augustine, Florida, and released on a prisoner exchange in July of 1781. He died January 23rd, 1800, at the age of 50. So that is who I am today. Just another quick question I asked last year, but everybody who was here last year might know the answer, might not know the answer. I'm going to ask it again. Justin Bieber wrote a song, Baby Baby. He wrote a song, that's what the song was called. What does that have to do with the Declaration of Independence? Does anybody know? You want to raise your hand real quick and I'll come and know. Let me tell you what that has significance of. He mentions baby, baby, baby 56 times, and there was 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. So you got information trivia today and a little bit of history as well. So let me continue with a little bit more information and history, as you may not know. The people that signed the Declaration and the Constitution were George Clymer, Ben Franklin, Robert Morris, George Reed, Roger Sherman, and James Wilson. The only founding father to sign both documents was Ben Franklin. So, with that, I would like to have our mayor come up and welcome you, everybody, with his comments. So, without further ado, our Mayor Lee Carriaco, folks. And then I'll be back.
Thank you, Dennis. We usually have the event here. We obviously can't have it across the street at the firehouse. For those of you who have any observation abilities at all, the firehouse is being redone. So welcome all. I just want to thank Dennis and all the people who put this together. I love seeing people in costumes, so thank you especially Anne and Emily and Dennis. I want to welcome you all here. And as part of that welcome, I think those of you who know me know that I am an immigrant, the son of immigrants. My parents came from the island of Cyprus after World War II. They're Greek. I grew up speaking Greek in my home. So one of the things for hospitality for Greeks is always involves food. There is baklava, and there is both regular and decaf coffee outside to go along with the cake, compliments of our family. So that's the introduction part. The other thing about immigrants that's fitting and appropriate for the 4th of July is that we are a nation overwhelmingly, but not exclusively, of immigrants. And it's particularly fitting that that occur. I will note that as a nation of largely immigrants, we haven't always been as welcoming of immigrants in our history. Early on, there was an anti-Catholic movement, an anti-Irish movement, an anti-German movement, and the list goes on for some time. And it is part of our history, both the negative and the positive, and we work on welcoming and encouraging immigrants to our countries still today. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing, I have a Jeopardy question for folks. So the Jeopardy question is, on what continent was the last battle of the Revolutionary War fought? So, any takers? And by the way, it's obviously not North America, right? So the Revolutionary War was actually a global war. The Battle of Saratoga, the first significant victory of the revolutionary forces over the standing British Army, had major consequences in our fight for independence, which was shortly thereafter, in the months following the Battle of Saratoga. France recognized the United States, Spain recognized the United States, and the Netherlands recognized the United States. And all three of them became adversaries of Britain in a global war. And the distraction of those countries was very important to our independence. And those of you who can recall history, I'm a history buff, for those of you who know me, that the French and Indian War had a global component at the same time. That was the 7 Years' War that occurred before our revolution. And so it was sort of a continuation of that. And the Yorktown battle, which we all know as the end of hostilities in the American Revolution, was the largest contingent of combatants on the American side were French, including not de Tocqueville, but the Marquis de Lafayette, right, managing ground forces, and then also I believe it's Rochambeau that had the French fleet. And the French fleet bottled them up, and alongside the French, we were able to take Yorktown. The French fleet came up from the Caribbean, where they had been raiding British forces, and the last battles of the Revolution were fought in the Caribbean. And then actually the last one was in Asia, in India. as I recall. So there's your Jeopardy story for the day. The last thing I want to do is just identify a couple of electeds who are here. So I've got 3 council members in the audience, Paloma Wake, Justice McCray, and Molly Rhodes, and then up here reading, because you're getting your usurpations down, is Dan Amar Blair. We also have a town board member here, so Andrew Foreman is also reading you today, and you've got your usurpations down as well, right? John Foreman. What did I say? Andrew. I could have said Peter. So sorry, John. I've got Yvette Valdez Smith here in the audience as well. That's our county legislature for a portion of the city. Charlie Kelly, for many years, a council member, also here in the audience. Ann Thomas was our city clerk. Do I have the title right or not? You were in the front office, but not the city clerk?
Planning, zoning, and administrative assistant.
Welcome to the municipal building always. And then I would be utterly remiss if I didn't mention the most important elected here. So Jonathan Jacobson, our state assemblyman, is at every single event I can ever imagine, and I thank you for that, Jonathan. That's all I got, unless anything else? All right, Jonathan, you're good? You want the mic for a second, or you good? All right, thank you. Oh, is that right? Yeah, and I'll hand it back to Dennis.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to go further and say that another comment that was already made, that people believe that what we wear at this event is a costume. It may look like a costume, but it's not a costume. I've been on the a lot of the events of the of reenactments, and I got a lesson on the proper terminology myself when I said, "Hey, those are nice costumes." The guy said, "What'd you say?" I said, "Never mind." So they are period dress outfits. That's the proper terminology for what we wear here today. So I just wanted to throw that back at you and let you know that you want a costume, go to Party City, but these are period dress outfits, proper terminology for that. So just so you know. So let me continue here real quick. I'm going to go quickly through this. Okay, I wanted to announce my committee first. Let me go further with that. I'm the chairperson. We have Ann Thomas. She just became vice chair of the committee. Kathy Caparelli, who's in back in the red shirt selling raffles. Dave Rember, and we have the honorary chair is Claire Lou Gould. That's our and Dave Rember. That's our committee members for the committee. Let me see what I want to do now. Okay, so what I want to do now is bring in the color guard, but I'm going to announce them coming in, so we're going to do that, and we're going to look at Troop 41 and the color guard. Color guard, post. Everybody please rise. Katrina, you're next with the rendition of the national anthem second, and the other one first.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you sing by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Everybody may be seated, thank you. Yeah. No, you're going. Now, folks, we have a special presentation for you. Nobody really knows about this presentation, and the person today wasn't feeling well not to be here today. But we want to dedicate today to a World War II veteran. He is 101 years old. Like I said, he's not feeling too well, so he's can't make it here today. We have a dedication. He was from Beacon. He lives in Fishkill to this day. His daughter's here today. So we put together a little 10 or less than 15-minute montage of his history and of him, and we want to show you that now. World War II video, and here it is now. His name is Carl Giordano, and here he is now, folks. Please watch the video.
It is the largest armed conflict that humanity has known. A deadly war that involved tens of millions of fighters around the world. Let's retrace on a map a summary of the main events of World War II. At the end of World War I, Germany and its allies are defeated and held solely responsible for the war. With heavy sanctions imposed upon them, the Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires are dismantled, while Germany has to repay what many consider an unreasonable debt. Its colonies and some of its territories are ceded to the victors and to Poland, which is recreated. These sanctions are seen as humiliation by the German people. The German economy is weakened by excessive debt and suffers hyperinflation. National mints try to address this by printing banknotes, causing a devaluation of its currency. Between 1914 and November 1923, the value of the mark grew by 1,000 billion. The following year, radical measures are taken to halt inflation and stabilize and revive the economy. But in 1929, the Wall Street crash in New York causes the worst economic crisis of the 20th century. Its impact is felt worldwide, with Germany not spared either, causing the unemployment rate to explode. Severely weakened, Germany sees a rise of nationalism in 1933 that allows the rise to power of the Nazi Party with Adolf Hitler at its helm. Despite the strict conditions imposed upon Germany after World War I, the new totalitarian regime resets the country and restores military service. The country also begins an aggressive foreign policy with a dream of uniting all German-speaking people. Italy, despite its victory with the Allies, is frustrated by the amount of territory it gained after World War I. Since 1922, the country is ruled by the dictatorial fascist party of Benito Mussolini. Italy begins a colonial policy by seizing Ethiopia and prepares a future invasion in Albania. In Spain begins 3 years of civil war opposing the Republican government supported by the USSR and the International Brigades and the nationalist camp led by Francisco Franco and aided by Italy and Germany. The two countries took the opportunity to test their armies and to get closer diplomatically. In Asia, Japan continues its expansionist policy. The country takes advantage of the civil war in China to invade new territories. The Japanese army uses chemical and biological weapons and commits massacres of populations. Germany is now powerful enough to launch its territorial expansion. It first annexed Austria with support from the local Nazi party. Next, the west of Czechoslovakia was invaded. The Slovak Republic becomes a German satellite state while Hungary grows closer diplomatically. After the occupation of a part of Lithuania, Germany signs with the USSR a non-aggression pact and a plan to carve up Europe. It then attacks Poland, which provokes the United Kingdom and France to declare war, marking the beginning of World War II. Although the German forces are concentrated in the east, the Allied troops do not take initiative in the west. Instead, France and the United Kingdom try to cut the strategic iron ore route that passes through Norway and supplies the German military industry. Germany reacts by invading Denmark and Norway. Within days, the country captures Luxembourg, the Netherlands and Belgium. Hitler's new military strategy is called Blitzkrieg, which surprises opposition defenses with rapid, high-intensity attacks in a concentrated area. British forces retreat in the face of this German military prowess, and the German army bears down on Paris. The French army is defeated and an armistice is signed. Germany occupies the north and west of France, leaving its other territory and colonies under the control of the new government. Germany thus has indirect control of French colonies without having to send an army there. However, parts of the French colonies and the Belgian Congo chooses to stay in the camp of the Allies. In London, which already hosts several governments in exile, General Charles de Gaulle creates Free France, which continues to fight Nazi Germany. Brazzaville is named as its capital. Pursuant to the agreement signed with Germany, the Soviet Union seizes the Baltic states and a part of Romania. Germany, Italy and Japan combine to form the Axis powers. All dominions and British colonies, with the exception of Ireland, enter the war. In Africa, fighting begins between Italian colonies and Allied forces. While in Europe, despite the massive aerial bombing of British cities, Germany fails to take over the country. Hitler then changes his plans. He now wants to invade the USSR. But the plan is delayed by Italy, that fails to invade Greece and is forced to retreat by Allied forces. After the accession of Hungary, Romania and Bulgaria to the Axis forces, the German armies head south to invade Yugoslavia and Greece. Everywhere in Europe, the resistance is organized in different forms. Sometimes people organize strikes, demonstrations, or protect wanted persons. Some groups spy for the Allies, conduct sabotage, or print resistance newspapers. In Eastern Europe, guerrilla forces undermine the Axis armies. In Yugoslavia and Greece, resistant communists and royalist groups confront each other. Germany isn't spared the anti-Nazi resistance, with some attempts to assassinate Hitler, which fail. On June 22, Axis forces launched, on some counts, the largest military operation in history to attack USSR, which now passes de facto into the camp of Allied forces. The bulk of the German troops, well equipped and motorized, rush to the east. To support the Soviets, Allies occupy Iran, which then opens a supply route through the Caucasus. German armies arrive in Leningrad and begin a siege of the city that would last 872 days and cause more than 1 million civilian deaths. Further south, German troops were stopped at the gates of Moscow, where they suffer a harsh and deadly winter. Behind the front lines, the SS massacre Slavic and Jewish populations. In Asia, Japan occupies French Indochina. To counter its expansionist policy, the United States imposes upon it an embargo on oil and steel. In response, the Japanese conduct a surprise attack on the United States at Pearl Harbor. A massive aerial bombing damages a large part of the US naval fleet. The United States enters the war on the Allied side. At first, they concentrate their forces on the Pacific front. The country also provides supplies to the USSR, which continues resisting the German advance. Japan, for its part, conquers new territories in the Pacific. In addition to the massacres, Japan sends 10 million Chinese civilians into forced labor camps. In Indonesia, millions of prisoners suffer the same fate on the island of Java. In Burma and Thailand, Allied prisoners are exhausted in the construction of a railway line. Moreover, hundreds of thousands of women are forcibly recruited into prostitution for the Japanese army. In Europe, concentration and extermination camps are built to massacre, among others, Jews, resistance fighters, political opponents, gypsies, homosexuals, and people with disabilities. Fearing a second front in Europe, Hitler built the Atlantic Wall, a series of military installations protecting the coast from invasion. But the Allies first landed in Morocco and Algeria. Italian Libya finds itself caught between the two fronts. Having lost control of its colonies, Vichy France is invaded. In the east, Axis forces try to cut the supply route of the Caucasus, but for the first time, the German offensive undergoes a major military setback. The Soviets take the initiative and counterattack. Africa is now entirely controlled by Allies who organize a landing in Sicily. The new Italian government requests an armistice, causing the Germans to invade. The USSR advances rapidly westward, forcing the German army to concentrate on that front. On June 6, 1944, the Allies land in Normandy. Their armies quickly take over and liberate Paris. In the west, as in the east, countries are liberated or switch camps. With victory in sight, Allied powers announced the creation of the United Nations. Countries that declared war on Germany and Japan would be admitted at its founding conference. This triggers a wave of declarations of war, but without major consequence. On April 30, Hitler commits suicide in his bunker just before the arrival of the Soviets. 8 days later, the country surrenders. The United States and USSR join forces to overcome the Empire of Japan. The Soviets begin a military invasion via Manchuria, while the US drops 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. On August 15, Japan surrenders, marking the end of World War II. After 6 years of war, the human toll is heavy, with at least 60 million dead, mostly civilians. Many cities are completely destroyed. Europe and the USSR subject millions of German prisoners of war to bonded labor, many of whom would die. Germany and Austria are carved up among the victors. The old guard of European powers are left exhausted and ruined by war. The United States and USSR emerge as the remaining global superpowers. Despite the role of the UN, which aims to maintain peace and international security, both sides would eventually engage in indirect confrontations around the world.
It is indeed an honor to have the city of Beacon's last surviving World War II veteran, Carmine Toot Giordano, will turn 102 years old on July 14th of this year. He has lived in Beacon nearly his entire life. He is a World War II veteran who tells the story that he started out training to be a radio operator on B-25 bombers and then went to gunnery school. Unfortunately, he tells everyone that he used to get airsick all the time, and it became an issue, and they finally moved him out of that, and he went the rest of the war fixing and maintaining the communications equipment. Toot says he never went overseas. It would have been nice to see the world, but I wasn't looking for a fight. We just did what we were told to do at the time. When asked recently in an interview What kind of advice could he give young people today? Toot responded, "I'm conservative and I think the country seems to be going down the tubes, but I would say 4 things that are always important: love, compassion, family, and forgiveness. If people keep these things in mind, the entire world would be a much better place. It's so much easier to be petty than the other way around. Keep things simple and use common sense." Thank you, Toot, for being a part of Beacon's history, and we honor you today on this July 4th holiday, and thank you for your service.
Can I ask his daughter to come up front, please, to the front, please? The committee has a plaque and a... Here is the current with his picture and that bio that was in it from back in March. And we also have, you want to turn around here, I can read the plaque here. And it says Certificate of Appreciation. I think it should be more than appreciation. It should be in debt to America that he helped what he did. And it says on his plaque, it says, "Without heroes, we are all plain people and don't know how far we can go." Bernard Malamud. Thank you. Now, we left some people out, and I did it last year. We didn't leave them out, but I didn't want to forget to mention them, so there's a difference. I want to mention the refreshment people in the back. Joan and Sharon are our refreshment people again this year. We want to thank them. Thank you. And we left somebody out of the Beacon School Board, Eric Shutter. Eric, please stand up for us, please. Thank you. Thank you. I want to just, I also want to mention, with the assistance of the research, Peter McGivney in the Beacon Howland Public Library. Very good for him. Thank you, Peter. So, let me just say a few things, more things, and then we're ready to get on with the reading, which isn't going to take that long. This day is about men and women that have made America what it is today and the freedoms that we have today. And we also remember their sacrifices as well. And not only the sacrifices, the supreme sacrifice on the battlefields across America. And one of the groups that stands out that assisted in this, in the wars, one of our wars was, I mentioned it last year, but I didn't have a lot of research. I went back and did a little more research on it. Was the Tuskegee Airmen Squadron. They flew over 15,000 missions. 200 of them, they flew into Germany, and not one of their bombers were ever shot down. So I wanted to mention that with the history behind it. And, I'd like to tell two quick tidbit notes. Maybe it'll be one. I'll just leave the other one out. We have to get moving here. On the TV show MASH, the last show on MASH, Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. It ended in 1983. If anybody saw that episode, you remember that? If anybody remembers the episode, Alan Alda was in a insane asylum, and he went back and he said, well, the doctor said to him, well, go back and remember what happened. And he said, they were on a bus going through North Korean territory, and there was this chicken that was clucking. And I told the mother to shut the chicken, keep the chicken quiet. We're going through enemy territory here. And it turned out to be a baby was crying, and she had to smother her own baby to get through enemy territory. That's what happened. I remember speaking to some of the writers. They put that in the show. That happened. And so, if you didn't know, remember that episode for that. So now, with all Dennis Pavlak's babbling on, we are ready to start the reading. So we're going to have John Foreman to come on up and start it off. and Dan will be the follow-up. Come on up, Mr. John. No, hang out. He was, so when he's done, you have a copy? Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Asana.
Good morning, and thank you all for attending. In Congress, July 4th, 1776, unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to rate themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained, and when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has refused for a long time after such dissolutions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriation of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has effected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the work of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. He has excited domestic insurrections amongst us, and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every age of these oppressions we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them for time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our emigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them, as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace friends. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right, ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Thank you for that, Dan and John. So like I said in the beginning, we try to have more activities this year, and if I can go one step further in just a minute, I wanted to throw an add-on in here. We had another part of the program where I got it from a TV show. It doesn't matter where it's from, but I have, as you came in the door, people they received a Minuteman of 1776, and if they have a history tidbit they want to say, they can stand up and they can say it. So if anybody is holding a Minuteman 1776 card, please stand up with that, and you want to say a comment, you may be able to say the comment right now. Your name? Okay, and your comment is about history.
The 50 stars represents the 50 states.
Okay, thank you. 50 stars, she said, represents the 50 states, and the 13 stars represents the 13 colonies. Thank you. I'll take that back, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we have anybody else? I know our Dutchess County legislator has a 1776 Minuteman. I wish that was Minute Women, but we got to be, you're a Minuteman, sorry. So was I.
Thank you, Dennis. This has been wonderful. I think a lot of us know this, but the colonists used to like to hold mock funerals for King George III to remind everyone of our victory over the British. And I always think that's an interesting tidbit to remember.
Wow. I did not know that. Anybody else? We have the 41. We have another one here, hold on. Okay, we have another set. Oh, okay. Your name?
Xavier.
Xavier, he's one of our color guard helpers outers here, so what is your comment, Xavier?
Benjamin Franklin wanted the national bird to be the wild turkey instead of the bald eagle.
That is correct. Did you hear what he said? Ben Franklin wanted to become the wild turkey, become our national bird, and we made it the eagle. Can you imagine that? Hold the stuffing. Anyway, so let me do this guy here. Let me get your. Oh, okay. We have Shaylin, and by the way, Shaylin won our Tootsie Roll count. She won the 400 Tootsie Rolls in a jar. She won it this year. Go ahead.
The Declaration of Independence was actually signed on July 2nd, and it took 6 months for it to be completely signed.
That is correct. Did you hear what she said? It was originally signed on July 2nd, and it took 6 months. Anybody else have one of these to give me back? I want to make sure I got them all back from you. I don't need it. I want to get them all, take them all back from you, because they're up, it's all in-house. That's okay. So your name is? Joe. Joe. Where are you from, Joe? Beacon. All right, Joe from Beacon's got a history comment. Back to you, Joe.
8 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence were born in the UK.
And I did not know that. 8 of the 56 signers were born in the UK. How about that for history facts, folks? So I want to thank you for this. We're going to keep doing this. This is another add-on to keep the public in. Oh, wait a minute. Do we have another one? No. Oh, yes, we have another one. I didn't know. Hold on. I wasn't sure. I want to make sure I get everybody.
My daughter has it.
I'm Elizabeth, and I'm from Beacon, and I wanted everyone to know that the Hudson Valley boasts the female Paul Revere, Sybil Luddington. When the British attacked Danbury, she was 16 years old, did you say? She made an all-night ride to warn the colonists that the British were coming in our area through Putnam Valley.
That is right. That is correct. So she was the female Paul Revere. That is correct. I wanted to say that earlier, and I'm glad it was said. So let me say this. So I'm glad we had time to include that, because I believe all those comments that were said. I'm trying to get your. Oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to get we the people, which is you, to be part of this process. That's what I'm trying to do. So, hold on. Give me that back. And Barbara McCaskill, I know her.
Yes. Give me freedom or give me death was quoted by Paul Revere.
It was give me liberty or give me death, by the way. Just so you know. Okay, that's fine. Anybody else? Before I forget, anybody else have anything they want? Hold on. We got the troop leader, and her name is Diane. Back to you, Diane.
John Witherspoon was, he signed the Declaration of Independence, and Reese Witherspoon is a direct descendant, which is really cool. Our current actress, Reese Witherspoon, was a direct descendant of someone that signed.
Well, how about that? I did not know that. I did not know that either. And Tom Hanks is related to somebody as well. I just forget which one he's related to. I have all these back, right? So let me just cover all quick, then we're gonna do the raffles, so please don't go anywhere, we're gonna do raffles. And I want to just read something here first about what the two men here read about the Declaration. I want to give you the meaning of that, what you just heard. And here's what happened. Here's what was I wanted to read. I read it every year at the end. The meaning of the Declaration was a recurring topic in the debates between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas in 1858. Douglas argued that all men are created equal in the Declaration referring to white men only. The purpose of the Declaration, he said, had simply been to justify the independence of the United States and not to proclaim the equality of any inferior or degraded race. Lincoln, however, thought the language of the Declaration was deliberately universal, setting a high moral standard for which the American Republic should aspire. I had thought the Declaration contemplated the progressive improvement in the condition of men, all men everywhere, he said. So according to Pauline Maier, Douglas's interpretation was more historically accurate, but Lincoln's view ultimately prevailed. In Lincoln's hands, wrote Maier, the Declaration of Independence became the first and foremost a living document with a set of goals to be realized over time. Now, I believe one of my committee members wants to read something, and let me get her in the back for just a minute here. Try to get her up here in the front. We're almost done. This is almost over, folks. Hold on. Give me 30 seconds to get her up here. Kathy, you ready? To read? Come on. This is one of my committee members, folks, Kathy Caparelli. She wants to say a comment. Come. You want to hold it? You want me to hold it?
Can I use this?
Yeah.
I'll start over. Hello and happy 4th of July to everyone here and those watching. I would like to take the opportunity to commend our esteemed mayor. Where is our mayor sitting? Oh, there he is. And our Assemblyman Jacobson, our entire city council. Thank you for the great work you're doing in our city. I look forward to seeing what you have planned next. I also want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the dedicated city employees, the public servants, the volunteers who work diligently behind the scenes to ensure smooth functioning of our city. I would like to recognize someone whose dedication to our community often goes unnoticed, and you probably know who he is. This individual has an unparalleled love for the city of Beacon, perhaps more than anyone I've ever met. His name is Dennis Pavlak. Dennis? I don't know if you all know this, but Dennis served his country in the Army. He's also volunteered his services to our community. He's played a pivotal role in getting a playground for our youth. He's raised tens of thousands of dollars over the years for various quality of life issues in our city. He's our #1 community fundraiser, who has even helped us out at the Beacon Lions Club, and we are forever grateful for you. Let me just say, Dennis Pavlak, you have a knack for identifying issues and finding creative solutions. On this Independence Day, as we celebrate the freedom and liberty that our nation stands for, let us also remember the importance of unity and community. It is through the collective efforts of individuals like Dennis and many other organizations and volunteers who can truly embody the spirit of independence and create a better future for all. As we come together to enjoy festivities and fireworks, let us also take a moment to express our gratitude to those who have served in our armed forces, protecting our freedom and ensuring the safety and security of our nation. Their sacrifices and bravery will forever be remembered and honored. Let's just pause for a few seconds for those people that sacrificed for us. With these incredible organizations and individuals who volunteer, I'm immensely proud to call Beacon my home. I'm grateful for the opportunities and freedoms that our city protects and provides. Let us work together to build a future where every individual feels respected, valued, and included. By embracing the diversity and strength of our community, we can create a city that shines as a beacon of hope and opportunity for generations to come. Happy Independence Day, Beacon. Thank you.
Thank you, Chica. Okay, folks, we are finished with the events here today, and everybody talking, so no one else is going to talk. If you are a young person and you didn't get a chance to play Catch It If You Can, come and see me. Ladies, don't leave. We're going to give you these were donated by the Lucille's Flower Shop in Fishkill. Everything you see here, raffles, those game table to pick out a game on the way out, when you play Catch It If You Can. Everything, when I went around the citywide yard sale, I said, why I'm doing it. They gave me the prize for nearly nothing when they found out what I was going to do with everything. So I got everything, and it's not used, things missing, everything's together, nothing missing out of them toy games over there. So if you haven't played Catch It If You Can, come and see me, go have cake, and the raffles are next, so stay tuned. Thank you.